Tuesday, May 28th. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Parliamentary Representative for Maypen Clarendon, Mike Henry, is again publicly calling for the establishment of a Zone of Special Operations, ZOZO, or other enhanced security measures in the parish capital. Mr. Henry noted a slew of killings in and around the town over recent months, including 4 fatalities last week. Additionally, on Sunday morning, there was a violent gun battle between men armed with high-powered weapons and police personnel who thwarted a brazen daylight robbery spree in the Guineptree area of Maypen. 2 police officers were shot and injured in the incident, in which 2 vehicles, including a police service unit, were shot up by the hoodlums. Henry, in a statement, said there can now be no question about the need for some special security arrangements for Maypen. In a statement, he's quoted saying, "Something I have been calling for quite some time now, and for which the time has come in no uncertain manner." End quote. A Chinese embassy official has called for the Jamaican government to use every possible tool to protect Chinese nationals here. Councillor Zhou Ming said in a statement, quote, "I'm requesting that the Jamaica Constabulary Force do everything it can to address and to legitimately safeguard the rights of the Chinese in Jamaica. And we urge the JCF to also thoroughly investigate this crime so as to bring the perpetrators to justice as soon as possible." End quote. He extended sympathy to the 2 cops injured in Sunday's dramatic robbery in a firefight in Maypen Clarendon, and wished them a speedy recovery. The police sergeant and a constable were shot as they attempted to foil a daring robbery at a supermarket along Main Street in the town. A new bill to amend the Bank of Jamaica BOJ Act to strengthen the governance structure of the BOJ is currently being reviewed by a parliamentary joint select committee. One of the amendments being considered is the formation of the Monetary Policy Committee, which will provide guidance for the central bank without undue political influence. The Joint Select Committee Chairman and Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, outlined the provisions for the Monetary Policy Committee last Wednesday.
I don't think it's necessary, or maybe not even advisable, for the senior executive who is appointed to the Monetary Policy Committee to be so appointed on the recommendation of the governor. It should just be the board of the bank, the senior executive of the bank appointed by the board. So I don't want to suggest that we take out on the recommendation of the governor in subsection C. Right? So it will be the governor, a senior executive responsible for monetary policy, and then another senior executive appointed by the board. So the board plays an important role in, and it just ends full stop there. And we're moving to a regime of diffusing the power, right? And you know, and that is why the board becomes so important.
Some members also had concerns about the committee's composition.
Chairman, the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union League and the private sector organization in their submission commented that the appointment by the GG Council is still likely to be subject to political influence. And they also observe that under the fit and proper definition, there are matters which are determined by the minister acting on the advice of the governor. They therefore recommend that the appointment of MPC members be done by the GG acting on the advice of a special commission established for that purpose. We would suggest, Minister, or note that these appointments are not meant to be removed exclusive from political influence, as someone has to be responsible to the people, even for an independent central bank.
Yeah, and this is, you know, something that the previous amendments to the Bank of Jamaica Act in 2014 and 2015 sort of confronted, and I remember those debates at the time, and I remember the explanations that were offered. And I've also had conversations with persons involved in decision making at that time. and settle then on Governor General and Council as the best for our purposes in Jamaica. And that was a method that was settled on for the appointment of the governor. And here it's just been extended to members of the Monetary Policy Committee, putting them at the same sort of level.
The Bank of Jamaica bill will provide for the modernization of the bank in keeping with international best practices. It is expected that the bill will be approved this legislative year. The committee met last Wednesday at Gordon House. The Ministry of Justice is now in the process of implementing the administrative infrastructure so that the Child Diversion Act can be operationalized within a couple of weeks. This was disclosed last week by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck during his contribution to the 2019-2020 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives. The Child Diversion Act 2018 was enacted so that children can be diverted from the formal justice system, instead of being treated as criminal.
Children are brought into this world as blank slates, and it is our impression upon them that determine the way in which they will operate in society. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Justice is ensuring that when children get into are charged or find themselves committing minor offenses, that they are not pulled before the court at the first opportunity, but that they are taken to the child diversion officer or the child diversion office, and hopefully we can find a way to assist those children to go on the straight and narrow path.
Over the next 10 months, the ministry will be rolling out the program in all 14 parishes. A protest action over the weekend at the entrance to the Bauxite Alumina Gisco plant over the weekend was staged for environmental pollution and related issues. The protest spurred a meeting between Gisco Alpart management, residents, community leaders, and political representatives. The meeting ended after 2 hours with agreement for the setting up of a monitoring committee which will meet fortnightly to report to residents on the progress of efforts by the company to reduce emissions. The Montego Hill Police in St. James are now probing the weekend gun attack on Mark McGann, the councillor for the Somerton Division in St. James East Central. McGann was reportedly dropping a co-worker at home in Montego Hill, St. James, when he was pounced upon by a gunman who used a rifle to open fire on his vehicle. He said after taking evasive action, the perpetrator fled. Neither the councillor nor his co-worker were injured. McGann says he does not believe he was targeted because it was not a location that he visited frequently. So he's thinking it's just a crime of opportunity. The councillor also said his vehicle was disabled by the bullets. The Firearm Licensing Authority, the FLA, has said that there are issues with how the 19 guns stolen from a security company in Montego Bay, St. James on the weekend were being stored. However, FLA CEO Shane Dalling declined to discuss the issues uncovered, but warned that the person who licensed them could face tough action if an investigation determines that there was negligence. Darling said that a team from the FLA has already visited the company's office in Ironshore on the outskirts of Montego Bay and has provided him with a preliminary report. The National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited, NCB, says it will be reimbursing late fees to customers impacted by the recent delayed salary payments. To request reimbursement, customers are to visit a branch and speak with their relationship officer or branch manager, or send an email to salary@jncb.com, along with any supporting documentation. NCB says reimbursements are available for customers who incurred late payment fees for utility companies as well as loans and credit cards held at other financial institutions due to delayed payments. The bank says it will ensure that customers do not incur late fees on NCB loan and credit card facilities. Grade 4 students across the island will sit the first official primary exit profile, that's PEP Grade 4 Performance Task Test, on May 30 and May 31. Acting Chief Education Officer Winnie Berry says sample questions are available on the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information's official PEP website for both educators and parents to access. PEP is the series of tests that have replaced the Grade 6 Achievement Test as the National Secondary Schools Entrance Examination. Students will sit the PEP exams over 3 years in grades 4, 5 and 6. Grade 6 students previously sat their ability test on February 26 and their performance task exams on March 27 and March 28. Grade 5 students will sit the PEP Grade 5 Performance Task Test on June 20. The 2019 Child Month activities staged by the National Child Month Committee will culminate with a day of prayer on Wednesday, May 29 at the Maranatha Gospel Hall on 7 Deanery Road in Kingston, beginning at 10 a.m. Speaking to JIS News, Chair of the committee, Dr. Pauline Mullings, said the Day of Prayer is significant on the Child Month calendar. Dr. Mullings pointed out that churches, schools and members of the general public in and around Vineyard Town have been invited to join the committee, child-related agencies and other stakeholders on the day's activities. The Meteorological Service is reporting that more rainfall is expected across Jamaica through to Wednesday. It explains that a trough across the island, coupled with a newly formed area of low pressure across the southwestern Caribbean, continues to influence the country's weather. The trough is expected to enhance the duration and intensity of showers and thunderstorms across the island, especially during afternoons from Sunday through to Wednesday. Projections are therefore for cloudy conditions with periods of showers and thunderstorms which may be heavy at times to affect sections of most parishes, especially during the afternoons. Former Prime Minister Edward Seaga is spending his 89th birthday today in a hospital in Miami, Florida, continuing to battle a serious life-threatening illness even as his condition was yesterday described as stable. Several family members and friends are expected to make the trek to Miami today to celebrate with the man many call Papa Eddie. Yesterday, chairman of the governing Jamaica Labour Party, Robert Montague, said the party joins Jamaicans at home and abroad wishing Seaga a happy birthday. The Kingston Harbour is severely polluted by sewage, solid waste and industrial waste. An estimated 20 million gallons of untreated or poorly treated sewage is discharged into the harbour each day. The garbage flowing into the Kingston Harbour is due in part to multiple land-based sources and gullies. Marlon Samuels has more in this second of a two-part report on efforts to clean up the Kingston Harbour.
Jamaica is one of the largest, well-protected natural harbours in the world. The Kingston Harbour is Jamaica's major port. It is a valuable resource for the nation. The harbour allows for port and airport facilities. It's the site for thousands of industrial and commercial enterprises. Fisher folks make a living from it. It's also the home for thousands of Jamaicans. Tons of solid waste dumped in the 15 gullies which traverse Kingston ends up in the harbour. So too runoff from the Riverton landfill. Industrial waste and garbage coming down the gullies, homes and factories located around the rim of the harbour are heavy enough to break developing mangroves. In other cases, they have uprooted the mangroves. Mangroves provide coastal protection from hurricanes and are home to a variety of birds, including the brown pelican, which is on the verge of extinction. Mangroves also serve as homes and breeding areas to a variety of fish and other sea life, such as crabs and shrimps. There is now, on one hand, a large reduction in marine life, and on the other, there is an increase in alien invasive species because of the death of the mangroves. The garbage and other pollutants have impacted the livelihood of Kingston Harbour fisherfolk. They also pose a danger to ships entering the Kingston Harbour. There is the real danger that the propellers and the hulls of the ships can be damaged by debris, leading to costly repairs and downtime. The Mona Geoinformatics Institute, MGI, is currently conducting research on the best ways to reduce the level of pollution in the harbour. MGI Director Dr. Paris Luai is urging individuals, the business community and the government to take up the mantle of ridding the Kingston Harbour of garbage and other pollutants.
We felt like we were just scratching at the surface of what needs to happen out there. First of all, there needs to be an awareness that when you put a plastic bottle to your face, you're a part of a problem. So it's either that you're going to recycle the bottle or you're going to look towards doing a genuine bottle. So it's social awareness for the larger group, but it's inching forward. Today we cleaned up a mountain, a small mountain.
Keep into consideration, guys, that when you buy any plastic product, it comes with a responsibility, and that responsibility is to make sure it ends up where it needs to be, in the proper dump.
One of the challenges we had today was our boat is fairly large, so it's a 40-foot boat, so it couldn't get into the mangrove where it would have been easy to get the trash that is trapped. So we were trying to fish the bottles out of the water, which was not very productive. But as we were going along the coastline, we realized that if we could get to the coast, we would collect more. So we went into the fire brigade, and as we approached, the persons who were there on duty were not so receptive. So we had to convince them and explain to them the role that we're playing and how we felt that they would eventually appreciate what we're doing. To their credit, they eventually were convinced after they checked us and made sure that we had life vests on board and that we were being safe. So, they're doing their role, but I think it would be useful as an institution for more of the government agencies to be aware that private companies actually play their role in society when we do things like this.
Reporting for PBCJ News, I am Marlon Samuels.
The US dollar on Monday, May 27, ended trading at Jamaican $134.84, down by 80 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $102.43, up from $100.57, while the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $170.46, down from $170.62. In regional news, we look to Trinidad and Tobago. The cost and time frame for a contract entered into by the Airport Authority of TNT Board and Novo Technology Incorporation Limited for a supply of automated immigration kiosks has raised red flags for government, which has ordered a probe of the contract.
At a post-cabinet press briefing earlier this month, National Security Minister Stuart Young announced Nelson's appointment as he charged that the contract had been signed without cabinet being aware and that the proper tendering process had not been followed. But Novo, through its lawyers, wants all adverse findings against it referred to by Young to be withdrawn, and it also wants copies of all reports and material considered by the cabinet in arriving at its decision to appoint the retired judge for the investigation. The company is denying any impropriety and says the minister's statements were completely untrue.
The Antigua and Barbuda government has entered into an agreement with cruise line Royal Caribbean.
That includes plans for the construction of a new land-based entertainment facility on the island. Tourism and Economic Development Minister Charles Fernandez said the agreement was signed last weekend and a joint statement outlining the provisions of the agreement will be issued on Tuesday. But he did disclose that the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line would partner with the UK-based Global Ports Holding, which is already involved in an $83 million project in Antigua. Fernandez said Royal Caribbean is looking to do an onshore investment similar to one it has completed in the Bahamas.
In sports, we look to athletics, where former Calabar High standout athlete and now Racers Club member Michael O'Hara has decided to add the 110-meter hurdles event to his program, ahead of his bid to make Jamaica's team for the Tokyo Olympic Games next year. The 22-year-old has competed over the 100 meters and 200 meters sprints since joining the Glenn Mills-coached Racers Track Club after high school. But his love affair with the 110-meter hurdles event, which brought him success at the ISA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships, has never left him. In explaining the addition of the 110 meters to his repertoire, O'Hara says he has always had it in the back of his mind after each race. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.